Conscious leaders, welcome back to another show here at the Life School Masterclass Show. I'm your host, Elona, helping companies align and scale their purpose and profits. And today I have a very near and dear topic to my heart and a beautiful guest sharing her wisdom, expertise, and of course, her experience with how she helps and how she does good in the world with the work she does, with helping you heal your heart consciously. I know that we're all conscious leaders and we understand that starting from the heart, starting from within all the way out is how we get results, but also is how we get fulfilled and is how we define success here at the Life School Masterclass Show. So I have with me today a beautiful guest, an expert in this area, Dr. Ruchi Mishra Sharma, and she will share with us again very insightful information around this topic, but also most importantly, we'll get to know her and her journey and how she actually got to the work that she's doing today. So, Dr. Ruchi, thank you so much for finding time to be on the show today.
Wonderful. Pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me, Elona.
It is an absolute honor, and I have built the Life School Masterclass show from people's experience. We all learn from each other. We add wisdom to each other. We like to share the challenges, the journeys, the things that we have learned. So I want to thank you ahead of time for the work you do in the world and also for sharing this with us today. I like to always start with, the big challenge that you've seen in your line of work or maybe personally, because sometimes, actually, a lot of times the work that we do stems from some of our personal challenges in the way that we help ourselves overcome some of these things. And then we want to share that with others. So, what is like a big challenge when it comes to self confidence for women or kind of tapping into their heart and consciously making decisions or overcoming maybe even trauma in their lives when it comes to, connecting with the heart? What are some of the things that you've seen?
Of course. See, my whole journey comes from within. I'll tell you why. My whole life, I've struggled with self confidence, self esteem. Now, it's very easy to cover it with the doctor's coat because over time you get good with what you do and people can't really see. The one person you can't run away from is yourself. So, about 3.5 years back, things drastically changed. I had my son, I was facing postpartum depression, and finally it was time. I was sick and tired of hiding parts of me, looking out for, oh my God, people are going to find out, or fear of failure, fear of judgment. Finding my way back to myself, all the steps that I had taken, and everything that I do. So, for the conscious work, the subconscious work, the hypnotherapy, the heart healing, the coaching, I am a living example that it works because I have had all of those things for myself. And that is when I decided to train in them. So, what I would like to say is, if you have faced any trauma in your life, I would really want, if you're not driving, of course, to actually, maybe put your hand on your heart or, if it feels comfortable. Trauma is not a life statement. Just reminding yourself that, whatever you have faced in your life, trauma is not a life statement. You acknowledge it happened. How do you find your way back to yourself? That's the most important thing. And that's what I help women with. So if you were to have a visual, it will be more like each of us has a purpose we are here with. And then life happens, trauma happens, conditioning happens. So in front of you, the diamond, your purpose, all these layers of limiting beliefs, trauma, what you believe about yourself, conditioning. I'm here and I literally help women take off all those layers. And the initial thing I hear is, oh, I feel different. Something has changed. I was like, well, it was already in there. All I have done is, as we take off the layers, you can feel the shine brighter. That's what changes. And that's what brings me immense joy and fulfillment in what I do.
Mm. Oh, absolutely. It's like, I think honestly, it's the most important work in the world because, and especially as entrepreneurs and women entrepreneurs running companies in our journeys, we lean on the professional side a lot, right? Just like, you attach to your title, much like myself, right? When I was a prior executive and now an entrepreneur, right? We attach to the achievement. But behind that, there's so much stuff that is boiling down, which shows up in other ways and hurts our inner peace. And unless there's red flags, unfortunately, that make us kind of wake up, then we kind of just live with this stuff like heavy baggage every day. Like every day we carry that. So I love that you shared that your personal story behind your status and title, right? Because those are the things that society taught us are important, right? To
Elona, is it okay
those.
if I share something more? Like,
Go
I
ahead.
don't want to trigger anybody, but I want to share it out loud here. Like, anybody who is listening, who has experienced sexual abuse at any point in their life, I know you, I feel you, I understand you because I've been there. Why am I saying this? You might think, what does that have to do with my business achievement? It has everything to do, because your outward success, what you want to manifest in your life, is a reflection of what goes on inside. If there's guilt, if there's shame, if there are parts of you that you're wanting to hide, it will reflect in your entrepreneurial journey. And that's why your inner healing, you coming back to yourself, you facing whatever it is that you're running away from. So it's like, facing your fears. 30 years of my life, I was literally running around, being productive, being this, being that. Time to turn around and look at what you're running from in the eye. That's where you start taking your power back. That is the very first step. And second thing is, like, I'm pretty sure each of you already know, but just a reminder that if you're a recovering perfectionist like me, confidence comes from doing. You can't be like, I'm going to be becoming super perfect at that, amazing at that, awesome, the world number one in that, and then I'll do this. No, confidence comes from doing. Confidence comes from falling, from reminding yourself that you have the resilience to get back up. That's how you grow. We're not here to be perfect, we're not here to be flawless. As an entrepreneur, people buy from people whom they trust, whom they believe in, the know, like, and trust factor, which is, oh, this is a human being. They have made mistakes. They have had a journey. Oh, I can relate to this person. So, like, when I started off, it was more like, you want to portray this picture perfect image. Be real, be raw, share your story, be out there. And yeah, authenticity is a superpower. Harness it.
Yeah. I love it. Let's dive deeper into somebody that might have experienced that particular trauma, right? Sexual trauma. How does that actually show up for them? Um, Whether it's their personal or professional life. Like, can we get it deeper into some of the things that might happen for people?
Yeah. The most common thing that I see is struggles with visibility in their business. Because what happened is, at whatever point of time it happened, you decided to hide parts of you because that's all you knew. That was most comfortable. Now, if you are going on the entrepreneurial journey, just raise your hands or say me, or just, remind yourself that none of your demons stay hidden. Everything is out there. Nothing stays hiding, right? This is when the guilt and shame will come into play. What if somebody sees that? What if somebody finds out that? A lot of time I'm asked, but Ruchi, how does it matter? That has nothing to do with my business. I'm like, you are your business. There, what's going on inside? You cannot be like, oh, that's fine, my whole building is on fire. I don't have to worry about it. I'll just keep, getting things perfect and polished on the outside. It's interrelated. So the journey is inside out. You need to get things back up together, acknowledge what happened, stop running away from it. And well, that's where the conscious and subconscious both works come into play together, and there is a way out.
Yeah.
Because I would want to share right now here talking to you, it might feel, oh wow, being on screen is so comfortable for her. 2 years back, just 2 years back, I would make a video, I would keep thinking and worrying and never post it. Fear of failure, fear of judgment. What will people think? What will happen? So I know I have been there. When you experience a trauma like that, most people will struggle with fear of visibility in their business. That's where I have been there, and most of the clients I work with.
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing that. Fear of being seen is a big one, especially when you want to share your message with the world and be in service towards others. If they can't see and hear you, then how are you going to do that? But I love that you shared the content story because I share that often too. obviously I had other traumas, not that particular one, but trauma really gets in the way of really hurting you to step up and to kind of live out your life's purpose, because you're hiding and you have a lot of limiting beliefs, and you want to just kind of hide in your cocoon. So it definitely does not serve you for anything we do. And I could imagine for me, it showed up in other areas, not just my business. So yeah, it's important to take a look at it, to be aware. And just like anything I've learned, that triggers are actually our best friends, because it gives us, it's just like our body hurts. Like when we have pain in our neck, our neck starts hurting. A trigger is kind of an emotional clue that there's something going on emotionally, internally. So I've also learned to pay attention to the triggers and dive deeper into what is happening with that, rather than seeing it as something that I just want to run away from or avoid or distract myself from, with much like you, overworking, overachieving, always doing something for other people. So thank you so much for articulating that so clearly for people that just might be in their journey or might have that problem, that you just mentioned for them. So let's get into the solution piece, right? This is why we are entrepreneurs. We have a problem in the world that we kind of have overcome for ourselves, and now we want to help others with that. So, Dr. Ruchi, what is your unique process or timeless pillars, or maybe even your background and experience in how you help women now, once they are aware that this is getting in their way? Now, how is it that we can start the process of, let's call it, healing, or kind of just, taking a look at some of those skeletons that are holding us back based on their experience? What are some potential solutions for women that might be connecting with this today?
I'll jump to the solution in just a minute, but Elona, you've touched gold. So, as an entrepreneur, triggers are your gold. Triggers are your nuggets of gold. And the biggest learning I've had is like, if somebody told you or me, like, oh, you've got green hair, I'm not going to give a second thought to it, right? The problem with triggers is there is some element of truth in it that rings true in some part of you. And that's why they get you so much worked up, right? So that's why facing your triggers and not running away from it. And as you rightly said, triggers are your best friends. Living it is not that easy, but just a reminder is very important. How do I help? So I have almost always worked one to one. I first initially would like to have a one to one breakthrough call. The breakthrough call is about half an hour long. I try and understand where you are, what is blocking you, and then we kind of tailor make a plan. This includes the deep dive with the RTT clinical hypnosis. So, this will help with any limiting beliefs holding you back, any trauma holding you back. Then I come to heart healing. What heart healing deals with is like, whatever we experience in life, we build walls around our heart to keep ourselves protected, right? The problem is these walls are not one way. They also restrict the flow of all the good things in your life, and we don't want that to happen, right? So that's when heart healing comes into place. And then the third thing we come on to is inner power access coaching. So, inner power access coaching works with the conscious. So, we dive deep into actually bringing into play your daily life. What are your daily challenges now that we have worked deep? So, generally, that's the flow of things. First, we start with deep hypnosis, rapid transformational therapy, heart healing, and inner power access coaching. The number of sessions will vary from person to person depending on what they come to me with. Something very new that I'll be doing for the very first time in March would be a course, which will be a group setting. And that is something new. But otherwise, I have worked one to one. Yes.
What I love about your process is that it's completely customized. Obviously, it's you're there for wherever the person is in the journey or whatever's holding them back. And I have learned that that's the best form of transformation, and that's the most lasting one, sustainable transformation, especially when you shift through some of these things that are holding you back. You never go back to that, which is good, right? Because if we don't deal with it, we know one thing about
Mm,
triggers and trauma, it will show up in other ways. So I
very true.
have learned to be smart with it myself and be like, okay, I'm going to tackle this because I don't want this to keep showing up in other areas. I love your process and methodology, not to mention that obviously you use you're trained and you're a doctor as well, so you obviously have the experience of using all those methodologies to be able to give people sustainable results. But my question is around, why did you choose those specific methods to help the clients that you're supporting? Is there, how are those different from maybe what's already offered out there to help people overcome the same issue that you're helping overcome? Like, what makes you different? What makes you unique? What have you heard from, because I know this is a hard question, but what have you heard from
Um,
stories of
I am
transformation?
so happy you asked me this question because I am the client that I'm working with, me from 5 years back, because I've been there, I've lived that, I have been in the depths of despair. I have been there. Why I do what I do? Because I have received myself RTT sessions, heart healing sessions, inner power access coaching, the last 3.5 years of my life, where I am today would be an impossibility if I hadn't gone through that healing inside out myself. All the modalities, I had them work for me. I know they work. That's when I trained into them and used them. And I can give you all the wonderful testimonials I have, but I'm a living testimonial of it works.
Yeah, you're your own patient zero, doctor.
Yes.
I would say that. Yeah, we're always our own patient zero, because then we wouldn't know how to help from experience, especially when you are in the service industry, where you are the business and you are the one that's providing the transformation. Whether we package it into a course or a one-to-one container or any other types of containers, that doesn't matter. At the end of the day, people come because they want that specific result. So yeah, I love that you mentioned that, and I believe that as well. Dr. Ruchi, let's get behind your purpose a little bit. I like to learn a few. What were some of a few meaningful moments in your journey that led you to this work? Like, how did you get here? Because I'm sure it's not by chance.
I would say the most meaningful and life changing moment was the arrival of my son 3.5 years back. I still remember, this is peak COVID, looking into his eye, I'm like, yes, I want to be this conscious parent, present parent. But at that very moment, I was completely lost, not even seeing the light. In the eyes of the world, I was this accomplished doctor, but I am not feeling that fulfillment, that sense of I'm living my purpose. And I'm thinking, what is wrong with me? Everybody tells me my life is great, but I just knew I can't keep going like that. And that postpartum depression was the trigger that led me to face my childhood demons. I had faced childhood sexual abuse and buried it deep inside, like any child would, because at that point, you don't have the coping mechanism to deal with it. It was time to face it. I had spent 30 years running away from it. This was peak COVID, and I remember it took me 4 months to just develop self awareness of who am I? What do I want? What brings me joy? Why do I do what do I do? And a whole lot of things happen. It's just start with the very first step. And the whole reason, intention of me saying this is, if you feel like, oh my God, she can do it, I can't. That's not true. That's not at all true. If you're feeling lost, or if you're the most seasoned entrepreneur, either way, there is always the next step to take. So first and foremost, face yourself. The simplest thing I would say is what I do on a daily basis. I used to call it the self-love mirror exercise. Now I call it the self-love phone exercise, because how many things can you do first thing in the morning? So you look at your phone, camera on, looking at myself. I'm like, Ruchi, I love you truly, deeply, and unconditionally. I love and accept all parts of you. I'll be honest, the first time I started doing that 3.5 years back, first time I was in tears. Second day I was like, why are you lying to yourself? So it was tough because, as I said, the shine of the diamond is so far deep that I can't even feel it. Just keep at it, keeping at it. And that is one step. Another is I've created a whole course framework of steps. There are like 6 steps, and obviously there are tiny little steps, but 6 steps of how you can go on the inward journey, find the blocks, deal with them. Don't bypass them. There's no bypassing them. You deal with them. And that's how you grow. That's how you go to the next level. And Each and every single human who's listening to it, I can promise that you're a superhuman, and that's why I wear this when I do my podcast with Elona, because I like literally regard her really high in what she does. We are superhumans because we have come here for a very unique purpose for each of us. So, first, and do not compare yourself with anyone ever. Your journey is as unique as your fingerprint. People might not understand it. You might not completely understand it. All you have to do is take the next small step. When you are like completely in overwhelm, oh my God, nobody gets me. What am I doing? Where is life going? Take the next small step. If you remember nothing from the podcast, just remember that. Take the next small step. Yeah, that's the most important thing to keep going.
Yeah, I love it. Something that just came up for me as you were sharing your kind of your journey, how did you actually, bring all that stuff up that needed to be healed. It's your catalyst story, right? So your child, even though you went through something challenging with postpartum, is actually a gift because it opened up, a lot of those things that you were kind of shoving down for many years. And the same thing for me, a few other personal things kind of opened a lot of stuff up. And unless something happens to us that's challenging, unfortunately, we just can't take a look at some of those things that might be holding us back. So, we all say, well, we all have heard the saying that opportunities or challenges actually come as opportunities. They're just wrapped, as
We just don't feel like that in that very moment, but yeah, in retrospect.
absolutely. So I love that, and I love the exercise that you started to put yourself through, which is your self love exercise of affirming yourself. That as well, and I've had similar experiences where in the beginning it's very hard because you don't believe these affirmations because there's so much stuff that we need to unravel. But it's so important the power of intention and how we talk to ourselves, because over time that becomes our inner voice, right?
Alona, can I please share just one more thing? Like, self-love exercise. And the second thing, like, that really, really, really works. And it's literally stuck in front of me on my board here is, I would really invite each and every one of you listening to it right now, later, whenever, creating a proud list. So, what a proud list is basically all the physical, mental, personal, professional, emotional, spiritual, any challenge that you have overcome in your life in the last 10 years, last 20 years. Just take 10 minutes with yourself and write it down on paper. I promise you, once you do that, and when you just look at that paper, you'll be amazed at how far you have come. Because I think as humans, we are focused on negativity more than, oh, I couldn't do this, or I couldn't have that, or I feel there. But when you focus on that, just the realization of I overcome all of that, the next time your mind throws self-doubt at you, which it will, because magic happens at the end of your comfort zone. The next time you want to go out of your comfort zone, your mind will be like, oh, this is uncomfortable, I don't like it. Self-doubt will come. So the most important bit is to understand what tools can work for me when self-doubt comes in again. And this one always works. So my proud list is sitting there, and your mind loves proof. It's like, did I do that? Did I come that far? So that really helps. So yeah, I just felt like this burning desire to share it. I was like, okay.
Yeah, his intuition. Definitely listen to that and share that message because that's really important. Yeah, it's so true because we forget all the amazing things that we do because we're always focusing on the next thing and then or lack, unfortunately, a lot of times, right? Like I'm not where I want to be, or I don't have this, or I don't have that. But if we go back and kind of just boldly state all those things that we have overcome and do like a resume of like the past, because I always say even my first book, connecting the dots backwards, go backwards in time and connect some of those dots that have helped you get here, because everything also I believe is like stepping stones. It's like
Yes.
trampoline
Yes.
steps. They're getting you to the next thing, and unless you've overcome that, then you're not able to get here, right? So
True.
it's this journey, and it's not like one single event that happened and it's isolated. So giving yourself the big perspective, the macro level, a lot of times helps, especially when you're dealing with the challenge, because we get blinded. We are in the dark, right? You mentioned that. I love that. because I connected to the spiritual, right? We're in the dark, so we don't see, we don't have vision, we don't have our intuition, we don't know how it's going to go. So we're struggling with a lot of those things, but eventually helping yourself get into the light and referring to things that you've actually overcome reminds you that you are stronger than you think, especially in those
Way
where
stronger.
doubt
Yes. Yes.
comes in, for
Yes.
sure. Beautiful, beautiful conversation. Thank you so much for sharing this, Dr. Ruchi. I like to end the interviews usually with a final message. Whatever comes in your, because we're talking about heart today, whatever comes in your heart to share with our audience. And also, we just started this conversation. Where is it that the audience can at least further connect with you? And if you'd like to share anything for our audience, please go ahead and do so.
Of course, of course. Well, I think Elona has already shared in the links my link tree, so you can find all my social handles in there. And if you would like to get on a breakthrough call with me, you can do it there as well. Yeah, it's right there. And I share a lot of bits from my journey, and not only that, it's like what can be your next tiny step. So you can follow me on LinkedIn, on Facebook. I have also created a inner child healing meditation for you, and well, my clients have raving reviews about it. So Katie was one of my clients. Like, unfortunately, she experienced abuse at the hands of her father as a 5-year-old. She, after our work together, she also had the inner child healing meditation as well. She can sleep better. Her business is thriving. She's not jumping from one certification to another. She is in a loving relationship, which was almost impossible for her to have because she couldn't trust anyone. And she can sleep. She used to wake up with night terrors. So she sending a video testimonial for me brought me to tears, because that is possibly the most difficult and challenging session I did myself, because my own healing is the gift I give the people I work with. Because when I heal, I'm able to hold space for them to heal. You can understand, considering what I went through. When I'm doing the session for her, the trigger comes up, but my healing is what helps me help step back from the trigger and help her, but not run away from my own trigger. So that's what I'm saying. Whatever work you do, the same thing I would say, don't have a balance of your inner and outer world. So all the challenges that are inside, you're not wasting time in your healing, you're not wasting time in dealing with them. Once you deal with them, you will show up so much better, so much brighter in every relationship in your life, be it employer, employee, entrepreneur, parent, partner, whatever your role is. Healing is something, like, people can finally see you. You're taking that mask down, that worry of what will people think. When you take that down, people can actually see the real, amazing, unique, awesome human being you are. And you don't have the fear of, like, oh my god, what will they think? Oh, what if they will reject me? Why? Because you accept you just as you are, with all your quirks, with all your flaws, with all your crazy, all of it.
Wow, something you said so many beautiful things, but I think something that I've also struggled with is to look at inner work as I don't have time for this. Like, I'm already ambitious. I got goals. I got stuff going on. But I've also learned that it's the most freaking productive
Yeah.
thing you do. And
Yeah.
you'll be a super achiever, but you'll achieve from a happy place because
Yeah.
you're not achieving to fill a lot of those voids for the wrong reason. So I love that you shared that message that healing is actually the most productive thing that we could do.
Yes.
And,
Yeah.
and beautiful, beautiful work. Well, I definitely encourage everyone to connect with Dr. Ruchi on her link tree. She also, her beautiful resource, we'll add that at the end of the interview as well for you to just try it out. I mean, inner child, I also believe that inner child work is the most powerful, one of the most powerful methodologies. There's no such thing, I think, obviously,
Yeah.
those work, but
Yeah.
whatever resonates with you. Because at the end of the day, we're healing the inner child. And if the inner child is healed, then, we show up as that powerful parent or adult to be able to do the things that we want to do. And Dr. Ruchi is also inside our Life School community. So she's one of our experts. So you're very easily able to connect with her in there and then just start the conversations. You just never know where the journey will lead you. And this beautiful journey of entrepreneurship is all about human relationships. So get into each other's world and then look for ways to support and collaborate and shine your light into other people because we're all very unique. So thank you again, Dr. Ruchi, for the work you do in the world. Thank you so much for sharing with us today.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me, Elona. It's been such a pleasure. Thank you.
Likewise, the pleasure is all mine. And I want to thank you for also always supporting the show. So don't forget, subscribe, review, and leave us and share this episode. Sharing is definitely caring. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time with another amazing guest and interview. Bye, everybody. Are you experiencing these two main gaps in your company and your business? Inconsistent cash flow and clients, and also scalability issues. Maybe you've reached your maximum capacity with your current business model and the way that you're operating your business now, and you are really experiencing burnout and no time freedom in your business, but you're not sure what to do to be able to scale your company to the next level so that your company also becomes an independent asset outside of you, so that it can become an asset if maybe later you would like to sell your company or build a legacy company that really does more good in the world. For my dear podcast listeners, I'm offering a free 30-minute discovery call where I will intentively listen to what is it that you've built in your company thus far, and then offer my insight around some of the gaps that I can hear from the main gaps that we talked about at the beginning of this conversation that you might be experiencing. And I would love to offer some insight around my experience on what might some of those gaps be and ways to further support you in the future of the scaling of your purpose and profit, so that absolutely you can do more good in the world and your company can be independent of its founder and owner and become an asset that also creates amazing momentum out there in the world. For a limited time, I would love to offer my 30-minute time on my calendar for a free discovery call. You can just grab a time on the QSR code right here on the left-hand side of the screen, and grab a time so we can further connect. Again, thank you so much for being loyal listeners to the podcast and also for always supporting the show. I'll see you with another episode and another amazing conversation.